One of the things I think is very important for, especially for younger generation, is that we need to give them a compelling vision for what this profession can achieve.
Welcome to Rise and Stride, where we empower you to take your next step in an ever-changing business landscape. Here's your host, Denise LeDuc-Fremming, President and CEO of the California Society of CPAs.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Rise and Stride. With me today is Christina Ho, CPA, who has served as a board member with the Public Company Accounting Oversight Board, or the PCAOB, since 2021. Prior to joining the PCAOB, Christina served as Vice President of Government Analytics and Innovation at Elder Research and was Controller and Interim CFO for the University of Maryland College Park. From 2009 through 2017, she held several senior roles at the U.S. Department of the Treasury, where she led the implementation of the Digital Accountability and Transparency Act of 2014 and oversaw the consolidation and publication of the financial report of the U.S. government. Before entering the government sector, Christina spent more than 5 years as senior manager at Deloitte. Christina, you have been at the center of so many changes, really, that have shaped policy and standards. I can't wait to talk to you and to ask you some questions, have a conversation. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me on today's podcast. Before I start, I'd like to state that the views that I express here are my own and do not necessarily reflect the views of other PCAOB board members or staff.
Excellent. So maybe let's first dig into, our listeners they're savvy and they know the financial world and are likely familiar with the PCAOB. But maybe you can just tell us a little about the history, the mission, or something you think that we just probably don't know.
Yeah, many people would probably know that the Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2002 created the PCAOB in response to various corporate scandals at the time, for example, Enron and WorldCom. Our mission statement says the PCAOB regulates the audits of public companies and SEC registered brokers and dealers in order to protect investors and further the public interest in the preparation of informative, accurate, and independent audit reports. We're celebrating our 20th anniversary this year. Today,
congratulations.
Thank you. And today we have over 1,600 registered firms, with nearly half registered in the U.S. and the remainder in foreign jurisdiction. We achieve our mandates through 3 major programs. They are standard setting, inspection, and enforcement.
Just taking a few notes here. Well, congratulations again, 20 years. That's spectacular. And just, we've seen the world has gone through so much change in the last 3 years now, it's almost been. And in the last 20 years, I'm sure you've seen a lot of changes. Maybe you can talk to us a bit about the processes and how those have changed, in the auditing world, whatever those kind of highlights where you've seen those most significant revisions.
Yes, so because of Sarbanes-Oxley, there are 2 most significant changes. One, as I mentioned, is the creation of a strong independent board to oversee the audit of auditors of public companies, which ended more than 100 years of self-regulation by the accounting profession. And our mandate is to protect investors. And one of our key programs, as I mentioned earlier, in driving audit quality is inspection. And inspection is our largest program, consists of more than half of our staff. Over the past 20 years, we've completed over 4,300 firm inspection in 55 countries, including reviewing more than 15,000 audits of public companies and over 1,000 broker-dealer engagements. As a result of our inspection program, firms have made audit quality a high priority, but there is still a great deal of room for improvement. The internal control for financial reporting requirement was another significant change. It fundamentally changed the financial statement preparation and auditing process. When the PCAOB issued the initial auditing standard on internal control, I was in public accounting, and I still remember all the walkthrough that we had to go to, which brought operational functions together with the traditional financial reporting function to discuss the internal controls. That was a fundamental change, and I believe was crucial in improving audit quality. I've heard regulators in other countries trying to implement the same requirements. Other than that, I think the concept of auditing pretty much stayed the same. I would characterize the process as document centric and linear. It's still highly manual, even though business operations as well as the financial reporting process have become more automated and digitized. And that's why PCAOB launched the Technology Innovation Alliance Working Group at the end of last year. And the concept is to assemble a seasoned group of technical experts with hands-on knowledge of emerging technologies, combined with a deep understanding of the potential impact technology has on the future of auditing, so that PCOB as a regulator can consider a holistic approach on how these emerging technologies are impacting audit and how we should think about it in our standard setting and inspection and enforcement program going forward.
Mhm. And I mean, from the technology, we've all seen that that's changing all of our worlds, right? And even that's top of mind for all of us, but also the talent. How do we get enough people that are interested in accounting, and how do we make sure that they have the skills and the resources they need to be successful, right? And I think the CPA evolution in 2024, that's partial looking at that as well, is how do we match kind of those skills with the market and what the market needs. But is there anything in particular that you're kind of seeing that's influencing the audit going forward that is kind of from that technology space or the talent, because it goes hand in hand?
Yes, I have been saying that repeatedly, that talent is the cornerstone to audit quality. Without well-trained talent, there is no audit quality. We need well-rounded auditors with critical thinking, problem solving, and leadership skills. Also, CPAs need to become a lot more technology savvy, as you just said, that technology has become embedded in the business world. It doesn't mean that CPAs need to know how to write codes, but we need to understand the technologies and the problems they can solve. CPAs are the context experts. That means CPAs understand the problems, the business problems. If we also understand the potential solutions, that will allow CPAs to be more impactful in any roles and industries. To me, that is the exciting part of our profession. If you only understand the technologies and don't know the problems, then the technologies would be merely hype. The value of accounting is that it provides a globally common framework to break down complex problems into understandable elements. If you understand the problems well and can identify potential solutions technologies offer, then CPAs are making monumental differences in businesses in our world.
Mhm. You said that really well. I'm going to have to go back and re-listen to that because it's great. You talk about the technology. I know you have a certification from ISACA, so definitely on the tech side. What advice, I guess, would you give our listeners to help them lean into technology? Because I think sometimes people see it or they hear it, and instead of leaning in, they back away and think, well, if I don't think about it, it won't be there. But to your point, you really have to know that piece, because it's really important that you're able to connect all those dots across to have the holistic context.
Yeah, so again, it's a life learning process. I went to college for accounting, and along my career journey, I had the opportunity to move into the IT field. So I really learned that on the job. So everybody can do that. I think accountants have a lot of the skills that are related to like analytical skill, critical thinking skill. And if you're willing to be open and to think about the technologies, don't try to think that you need to like build the software. Think about what the capabilities can do in solving the problems that you are trying to solve or the business is facing. So think about it at a high level, not at a detail level. So I think that will be helpful. But of course, if people who have the aptitude and are interested in becoming more technical, certainly there are many options that people can pursue that. But I think instead of being intimidated by it, and of course, when you talk to technical people, sometimes you do feel like they're talking over your head. But I think at the end of the day, you want to understand what problems can this technology solve. And I think if you start from there, it will make a big difference.
Yeah, you can't be intimidated, right? You have to, kind of like you said, you have to dig in. You can dig in as deep as you want, but you need to dig in. A simple example, but I always remember when I was going to get my car service, and I thought, I never know what they're going to say to me. So I'm going to go take a class and learn about how it works. And I did. And then when I went into the service, I always felt like, okay, I can understand the language and I know the problems, to your point. It's a simple example, but I think you just have to jump in sometimes feet first and see where it takes you. So those are great words of wisdom.
Thank you. And we all have to be lifetime learner because our world changes so fast and there are always new things that we have to learn. So if we're used to learning new things, then and we understand the problem space, then I think we can really adapt.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of having that mental model that keeps on learning, then you're always in that same space. And so it seems to make it easier, I guess, for sure. So on your LinkedIn, I think you were at a panel discussion or you presented, and you said there's a high calling of a CPA. And it really resonated with me, especially when I think about the conversations we've been having of all the possibilities, and that the CPA is there to really protect the public and the public interest and investors, and is the cornerstone for the free market and the economy as it is. So maybe you can speak to that also in reference to, when it comes to attracting and retaining and promoting the profession, the diverse talent that we need. There's a lot there. So go where you want to go, Christina.
Yes. One of the thing I think is very important for especially for younger generation is that we need to give them a compelling vision for what this profession can achieve. And I was actually at a career fair at my daughter's school, and she's in 5th grade. So I was trying to talk to them, the 3rd, 4th grader, about what accountants do. And of course, I needed to translate that into something that they could understand. And some of them have preconceived notion about what accountants do, and including my daughter, they think it's boring. And I tried to tell them that's not. And the way that I explained it to him was that accountants are sometimes like detectives, and we try to make sure that we find out the truth about the business. So this is how I try to articulate to them what the job is. And when I was talking to the students at the universities, I wanted them to think about what the profession really is. And CPA stand for Certified Public Accountant, and P is public. So CPAs are called to protect public interests. And I think that's a purpose that people um, can feel compelled to aspire to, because if all we talk about is the actual task, I think that that will not be compelling enough, and we all want to make a difference and have meaning in our work, and CPAs have a significant opportunity to make a huge impact, because no matter what industry and what cause that we care about, they need CPAs, accountants, auditors to help the business. So that's kind of what I was trying to get at when I think about the high calling of CPAs. I've also heard really last year from someone who went to a ceremony that the State Board of Accountancy had, and they had like a oath ceremony. I was very surprised by that, because when I became certified back in 1995, we didn't have that. But I felt that that was such a great thing, and the oath that they are called to protect public interest, that is something is very important for our profession to remember what we are here for. So I really think that it's important to have that purpose in our work.
Mhm. No, I agree. And I remember when I was taking my CPA class, what really resonated with me, and it sticks with me today. I won't say how many years later, but many, many years later. And it's that in fact and appearance, and that it just made a difference, because people think about facts, but they don't think about appearance. And if it doesn't look right, it isn't right. I mean, you have to make sure that you take that into consideration. So I think, to your point, there is a higher calling there. I always felt it myself, but it's just, I think, communicating that out there, because young professionals want that purpose, to your point, and they want to feel like they're making a difference. I like your detective analogy, so I'm going to use that because it seems much more intriguing if you talk about it that way.
Especially to kids.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That brings a good picture in their mind, right?
Yeah.
For sure. So I'm just going to take us a turn here. We always enjoy hearing stories about your career paths. So how did you get to where you're at?
Yeah, I studied accounting in college. And so I started my career as an auditor. But then later I transitioned to the IT field at a Fortune 500 company. Later on, I diversified my career further as a financial leader in the federal government. I was the interim CFO at the University of Maryland, went on to work for a data science consulting firm, and now I'm a board member for an audit regulator. So I've had a very diverse career, but I can tell you that I could not have been successful in my career without my accounting degree and my CPA license. So I feel like I got a very good foundation in understanding the various business and organization structure and the critical thinking. So that has been very helpful in my career.
Mm-hmm. And what do you enjoy most about working in the government sector?
Yes, government has bigger problems to solve and is more mission driven. For me, it is important that my work has a purpose and that I'm contributing to something bigger. So I even though I've worked in both public and private sector, I tend to gravitate to public sector and I enjoy uh, the work in the public sector better.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. It does, because you are doing something much bigger and for the public, right? That resonates over time, just with where you're contributing. So I have a question for you, because again, on LinkedIn, I saw what I thought was so compelling. You had in there that you're an innovator, problem solver, and learner, which all tie together. So from a leadership standpoint, what would you say, just your thoughts on leading and how people can kind of lean into their authentic leadership perspective?
Yeah, there are so many people have written about leadership out there, and there's so many, very good books. And I will talk about, specifically myself. To me, being a leader involves bringing people along to do hard things, solve difficult problems, serve others. And my favorite quote is Man in the Arena by Theodore Roosevelt. I don't know um, if you are familiar with that. I've used that quote often in my career, especially with my team when we're doing difficult things. And if you don't mind, I'm happy to read the quote
I would
here.
love that.
Okay.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
so I will read it. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Unquote. I think a true leader is in the arena and bring others with him or her.
That was just pondering it all. It's very thought-provoking. Really. And I liked how you said you bring people together to do hard things, to solve problems.
Yes. So every time I'm doing hard things and feel discouraged, I read this quote. And every time my team is discouraged or were discouraged, I would remind them of this quote, because oftentimes when you're trying to do hard things and big things, there are many people who would tell you that you're wrong, and that there are many reasons that it won't happen or won't be done. So this is something this quote, it's my favorite quote.
Yeah, because anything great comes with a lot of hard work and not knowing and going through the battlefields. I mean, it really does. And I always say you have to persevere. That's the true winner. If you keep persevering, to your point, in the light of a lot of hardships, but if you keep going, it pays off in the end.
Yes.
I like that quote too. Thanks for sharing that. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So maybe we can talk about diversity for a moment, something that we're top of mind for all of us in all organizations. And you've served as a board member for the Asian Pacific American Legal Resource Center, and then also being a founding member for the Greater Washington chapter of Ascend. So tell us how we can all lean into kind of being diverse, having diverse workforce, having diverse colleagues, being inclusive. Just tell us kind of your advice on how we can move forward more authentically in this space.
My view on diversity has evolved. Early on in my career, I view promoting diversity as an effort to help people in my community, whether it was to provide legal services to elderly Asians who didn't speak English or didn't know their rights, or to provide networking and mentoring opportunities to support other Asian American professionals. In recent years, and especially in light of the Atlanta shooting back in 2021, and this was when thing became more personal for me. I started to recognize the reality of racism and the depth of the pain it causes people in my community. So now I'm committed to diversity because I know representation matters, and that as Asian American myself, I have the responsibility to represent those who couldn't speak for themselves, to advocate for them, and to help them feel seen. So that's my personal view in terms of how other people can help. Is I think that there is that education element. We live in a right now in an environment and culture that there are many division, and so I think we should always be reminded to be kind and to be open-minded to support other people in general. So I think that will help us all to get to a better community together. But I put that responsibility on myself more because of who I am in making sure that I can speak for the people um, who couldn't speak for themselves.
Mm-hmm. You said the education element. I think that's so important in having open conversations. It's something I don't think we did as often before, right before the pandemic. I think people just didn't talk about things. And to have the open conversations and be educated and to understand the pain and the injustices that are out there and the system that promotes some of those injustices, I think that's so important to understand so that you can help and you can be, work together and be that advocate that you need to be.
Yeah, so one of the thing that I did recently is to talk about the Lunar New Year. I know that California has that as a holiday now, but I read an article and I actually posted that on my LinkedIn too about why that was important. And I felt that the need that I should share with people that I know and within PCOB what I did to celebrate and what that meant to me. And before I didn't really do that. And I this year I felt that I should share more. And that actually is part of that education element for people who are not celebrating the Lunar New Year to understand, but also for the people who are Asian American, that when they saw me sharing that and acknowledging that it meant a lot to them. So that's something I'm trying to do more.
It enriches everyone's life, right? If you have that more understanding and you it enriches your life. That's it. And so I think that's wonderful that you shared that and keep sharing for sure. Because our colleagues did the same, and we appreciated that. So, Christina, I would say you are such an inspiration. I could talk to you for many hours, and we don't have many
Thank
hours.
you.
You are such an inspiration. And, knowing where you've come from and what you've done and just how you advocate and help others move ahead and mentor them and coach them. What would be your advice for those young professional women that are out there that want to be, I think you can lead wherever you are, but want to step in the C-suite or in a leadership capacity, an executive level? What would your advice to them be?
Yeah, I personally feel pretty fortunate to have gotten a lot of opportunities and good mentors in my career. We live in an individualistic culture. Oftentimes, people think that they need to own their career, work hard, make it big on their own. In reality, that is not possible. No one reaches their fullest potential without help. So, and my success was not mine alone. It was the result of the inspiration, kindness, sacrifices of many people, men and women, I have encountered at different points of my life. I think that women are innately relational. Our ability to build strong community is our power. I think that strong and caring women make great leaders who can change the world. So my advice is to take risk, be bold, uh, don't be afraid to fail, and support each other, and um, and pursue what you want to do.
It's great advice. That is, I know when my younger self, if I would talk to my younger self today, I would say those words, take risks, be bolder, don't be afraid, because I think often you hesitate, and it's as you get older, you realize, oh my gosh, I should have just done that. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? Nothing. And it's great advice for you to give to those younger professionals out there.
I'm trying to teach that to my daughter, who's 10 as well. And I've noticed even at the age of 10, she already has that fear of failure. So it's something that is in us, and I think maybe the upbringing and the culture, especially for girls. So I try to encourage her to take risks and not to be afraid to fail. If you are willing to take risks, you actually feel more empowered um, to do all kinds of different things. And we know that from experience that if we don't take risks, we won't achieve big things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. It's something that's innate sometimes, but it's important to keep being reminded of that, how important it is. And the more you have a network or mentors, the more you realize nothing bad happened. It was okay. You can take those risks. So, yeah, that's really good advice for anyone out there. Anything else you'd like to share? You've been, like I said, such an inspiration. Wonderful to talk to. Thank you for being on this podcast. Any words of wisdom, last words of wisdom?
Yeah, the last thing I would say is that I think it's very important to find your passion. Pursue something you really care about. And I think if you're passionate about something and then, pursue it, take risks, be bold, I think you can achieve great things and you will be happier, even if it's hard.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes the hard path is the best path forward. So thank you so much, Christina, for taking time. I so enjoy talking to you. When I get out to DC, I'll make sure I look you up.
Yes, thank you. I really enjoy it. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you.
Rise and Stride is produced by the California Society of Certified Public Accountants. To learn more, visit calcpa.org.